Over the last 2 years, I've struggled a lot with my mental health. One of the issues that has been the most prevalent is burnout. Recently, I did some reflection for the upcoming school year and was able to dig deep into my burnout. I had many important revelations about the causes, effects, and recovery of my burnout that I thought would be very helpful to anyone who is currently struggling. So in today's video, I take you through a self-care afternoon in my life while discussing everything that I learned. When I sat down to reflect on my burnout, I realized that I've experienced two separate instances of burnout in my life. First of which started in the November-December timeframe during 2020. At this point, COVID had been going on for the last 8 months and I had been doing online school for the last half year and I was not in a good place. I was feeling very tired of online school and staying at home, as well as deprived of social interactions and real, true hobbies and stimulation. All of this together caused me to feel very burnt out. As a result, my schoolwork started to feel like too much, so I would lay around and bury myself in YouTube rabbit holes instead of doing what I was supposed to do. This caused me to have so much work that I had to make up after the regular school day was over. Naturally, the work piled up, and I would have to sacrifice all the other parts of my life to get the work done. But it kept piling up, and I felt like I could never get a break. The second instance of burnout began during February of 2022. During this time, I was in a horrible place with my mental health. I was caught in a very messed up mindset. I was desperately trying to chase an unattainable lifestyle that I thought would bring me happiness and validation. This resulted in me restricting my food choices and over-exercising, as well as hopelessly stacking my daily to-do list with simply too much for me to get done. Additionally, I was going through a lot with school. I deeply resented school because it was taking away from the life I was trying to create, and as well as that, I was struggling with social anxiety, so I didn't have many friends and wasn't really into the place to make new ones. As a result of all of this, I sort of just shut down. I dragged through every day, drained and exhausted. I didn't talk to anyone at school, and when I went home, I receded to my room where I proceeded to spend the rest of the day in bed, watching YouTube or listening to music, just trying to drown out the mental exhaustion and noise. So after some reflection, I noticed one key similarity between my two instances of burnout. They were both caused by a lack of self-care. During my 2020 burnout, my social and emotional needs were not being met. Since it was during the height of COVID, naturally I was lacking social interaction. Even though I was very blessed to live with my family who I could spend time with, I didn't have many other friends who I could talk to or be a teenager with. Additionally, since I felt so swamped with school work, it seemed impossible to make time for essential rest and rejuvenation. I didn't have the things in my life that helped me rejuvenate and recharge and feel inspired, which, especially as someone who is super creative and artsy, not having time or energy to express my creativity was detrimental to my mental health. Then flash forward to my 2022 burnout, where not only was I not accounting for my mental needs, I wasn't taking care of my physical needs either. First of all, I was heavily controlling and restricting my food choices. I was eating way less than I needed to be and wasn't getting enough crucial nutrients. On top of that, I was greatly over-exercising and neglecting sleep, effectively depleting my already low nutrient stores. All this together greatly impacted my energy levels and brain functioning, exacerbating my burnout symptoms. In addition to that, similarly to my 2020 burnout, I was not allowing time for my true hobbies or relaxation. I forced my brain to constantly be going, making no space for essential rest and rejuvenation. And finally, since I was having such a tough time with social anxiety, I didn't have many friends to spend time with. As a result, my social needs were far from taken care of and I often felt lonely. As for my 2020 burnout, it faded away naturally as I was able to switch from online school to in-person school. The change of environment and the increased stimulation and social interaction proved to be exactly what I needed. In addition to that, since I was physically going to school, I could leave school at school and use my afternoons and weekends for rest and engaging in hobbies and self-care such as stretching, working out, baking, reading, going outside, etc. The recovery of my 2022 burnout proved to be a bit more complicated. It didn't really end until I got out of school that year because during the school year I never really had any time to take a step back and truly reflect. But as soon as summer hit, things began to improve. Firstly, I began my 30 days of shadow work, which allowed me to see the box that I was putting myself in. After realizing and working through that, I was able to truly give myself a break from all the pressure I'd been putting on myself. I took a step back from all the habits and goals that I had been previously putting in place and truly just cared for myself. I went to therapy and was able to work through many of my disordered eating patterns and much of my social anxiety. I finally began to properly nourish myself and let myself take a step back from my intense exercise regime. I let myself stay up a bit later when I felt like it, but I always let myself sleep in and have the slow mornings that I craved. But most of all, I just let myself be. I didn't put so much pressure on myself to be this, be that. I just went with the flow and enjoyed life. I got lost in the travel of summer as well as spending time reconnecting with my old passions that I had pushed away for so long. Overall, I finally prioritized my true needs as opposed to what someone else told me I should be doing to take care of myself. The first essential part of self-care on the list is sleep. I know when you have a lot to do, it is tempting to wake up early and push back your bedtime, but studies show that sleep is one of the most crucial elements of preventing burnout and maintaining mental well-being. Specifically, Eric Sooney of the Sleep Foundation states, each sleep stage plays a role in brain health, allowing activity in different parts of the brain to ramp up or down and enabling better thinking, learning, and memory. Research has also uncovered that brain activity during sleep has profound effects on emotional and mental health. Additionally, in an article about sleep and burnout correlation, the RISE science team discusses recent connections studies have found between sleep loss and burnout. Specifically, one study monitored burnt-out employees for 2 years, gauging their stress, sleep habits, and burnout severity through regular clinical assessments. Through this, researchers found that getting less than 6 hours of sleep per night, too little sleep, was the primary cause of burnout, as opposed to work demands and thoughts of work during leisure time. Later, the same article states that research indicates that the connection works both ways. Reducing fatigue through sleep is a surefire way to fight back against burnout and the best predictor of return to work for burnt-out employees. As you can see, when curing and preventing burnout, it is crucial to get in the optimal amount of sleep every day, which for teenagers is, as the CDC states, 8 to 10 hours per 24 hours. So if you're going to stay up till midnight every night and wake up at 5 a.m. to try to get everything done, even if it seems like you have more hours to get things done, the time that you have will be less productive because your cognitive functioning will be impaired due to the lack of sleep. Another crucial pillar of self-care is exercise. You've probably heard a million times that exercise has many benefits for mental and physical health, but it's so true. Specifically, studies show that exercise has profound benefits on burnout. For example, in a study published on PubMed.gov, researchers asked 99 healthy adults to perform 60 minutes of cognitively demanding tests to induce mental exhaustion. Then they split them into 3 groups. One did 30 minutes of moderate exercise on a stationary bike, the second did 30 minutes of a simple lower body stretching routine, and the third watched a 30-minute sitcom. After the half an hour, all were assessed for mood, tiredness, restlessness, self-perceived cognitive capacity, motivation, and cognitive flexibility performance. Those in the exercise group showed significantly better recovery in many of these areas, including mood and cognitive flexibility. You can apply the same principle for day-to-day burnout. Engaging in even as little as 30 minutes of moderate activity, whether it be Pilates, walking, cardio, weight training, yoga, or even just playing sports, can greatly improve your mental health and mood and burnout symptoms. The next crucial element of self-care is proper nutrition. When you are working super hard and are experiencing extreme stress, it's so easy for proper nutrition to be sidelined, whether it be overindulging in highly processed foods or simply undereating because of lack of time or increased stress. But research indicates that proper nutrition is essential to recovering or preventing burnout. In Nutrition Psychiatry, Your Brain on Food, an article by Harvard Health, Eva Selhub explains the importance of proper nutrition for serotonin production. She talks about how serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps you manage mood mediation, amongst other things, is primarily produced in your gut, which obviously digests the food you eat. She explains that since your gut has such a strong connection to your brain, when you consume increased amount of processed or refined foods, the harmful substances in these foods get to the brain. There, they promote inflammation and oxidative stress, as well as impairing brain function and worsening symptoms of mental health disorders, such as depression and subsequently burnout. A different article from Medical News Today details the detriments of undereating. When someone is undereating, they are consuming fewer calories than their body needs to function correctly. This can have a severe impact on energy levels, causing feelings of physical tiredness and mental fatigue, which may impair a person's daily functioning, consequently exacerbating symptoms of burnout. Therefore, it is crucial to eat a balanced diet filled with fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, and lean proteins. When preventing burnout, taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. One important way to do this is by making sure you are carving out time in your daily routine for your hobbies. When you get super busy or burnt out, your hobbies tend to be put on the back burner and you shift into just a work mindset. But leaving time for leisure activities is so important because it lets you recharge and rejuvenate, which in turn helps you be more productive and helps you have better mental health. To back this up, Utah State University states, some research shows that those who are in stressful jobs that normally contribute to burnout feel less of a need to recover from their day at bedtime if they have more physical or social leisure activities that aren't work-related, or in other words, more hobbies. So whether it's playing your favorite sport or instrument or baking or drawing, make sure to prioritize time for hobbies. And finally, the last important piece of self-care I will talk about in today's video are social interactions. Burnout can often cause us to seek solitude or cut out social activities due to stress, but research proves that social interaction is a necessary form of self-care for maintaining mental health. In fact, an article from the New York Times states people who are chronically lacking in social context are more likely to experience elevated levels of stress and inflammation. These, in turn, can undermine the well-being of nearly every bodily system, including the brain. Additionally, the same article quotes Emma Sapala, published author and head of the Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education. She says people who feel more connected to others have lower levels of anxiety and depression. So even though you may be tempted to stay in or even engage in more independent self-care activities, it is crucial to make time to spend time with family, friends, or relatives who you enjoy being around. Overall, it is so important to take care of yourself. I know that often when we are feeling burnt out or just have so much to get done, self-care is the last thing we want to do, but truly it is the most important aspect of staying happy and healthy mentally and physically. But before I end off the video, let me just address the elephant in the room. If you are watching this video and are currently feeling burnt out or are busy and are looking for ways to prevent burnout before it happens, you're probably thinking, this is great and all, but literally how am I supposed to fit this all into my schedule? I'm already busy as it is, and now you're adding 30,000 more things that I don't have time to worry about. I completely understand this. When I was beginning to prioritize self-care more, it always seemed like it had to be one or the other, productivity or self-care. That is why I have decided to make this video into a 3-part series. This video is all about the importance of self-care and the pillars you need to be focusing on. The next 2 videos will talk all about routines and planning, 2 useful tools that can help you stay on top of self-care and your mental health overall. So, if you want to get a head start on the routine process I'm going to be talking about in next week's video, your homework for this week is to spend a few minutes writing down the essential pieces of self-care you want to prioritize. I already went over the importance of sleep, proper nutrition, exercise, and hobbies, but what are other things that you have found essential to your well-being? Is it journaling or meditating, reading or taking walks, making time to listen to music? Just because I didn't mention it today doesn't mean that it is not a valid need or that it should be sacrificed. So, if you have time before next Saturday, when the next video in the series comes out, make sure to sit down and write these things down, as it will be very helpful for next week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and remember that you will get to the other side of anything that you are currently going through, even stronger than before. As well as that, make sure to do something nice for yourself and take care of yourself today, because you deserve it. Anyway, I will see you next week for part 2.